What's good people? I think that it's very cool that the next GTA is going to be based on Vice City, obviously, but that's essentially Miami. There's actually a lot of speculation going on right now about what the final map is going to look like, where the different points of interest, where the different roads, the different neighborhoods, communities, what's going to be similar, what's going to be able to be reflected in real life. And there are actually a couple of videos that are out there referencing, or the references to real life areas in Miami and Florida that can be seen in some of the trailers for GTA 6. But I wanted to take some time based off of my knowledge of the maps in the area, some of the names, and just go through what I find are my observations on where certain areas are that have been uncovered by sleuths so far. The people that are just diehard gamers, diehard GTA fans, and people that do a great job of mapping out the areas that have been revealed so far via the trailers. So this particular map is led by a guy named Dupsor. Last it was updated was May the 13th, so it's May the 20th today, about a week ago. And it says here, this is the main layer, a map born on top of the data that the community has analyzed, plus some speculation. And there's quite a few people who have already done a really good job of mapping these things out and just pointing points of interest out on the map, pointing out discrepancies, similarities, overlaps, overlays, so that they can get a better idea of what the map is. The closer we get to the release date, which is May of 2026, I'm sure we'll get more and more revelations about what the final map looks like. But I wanted to just go through this pretty in depth to see what I have found based off of the map that Dupsor is saying and the overlays that can be found in the real map. All right, so let's start with just this map as a whole. So we have the map right there, and it's a very strange looking map, but if you look a little closely, you can see that this is kind of a very morphed or distorted view of the shape of Florida, the state of Florida. So you see here, this is kind of a panhandle area. We go into what looks like a bit of the Big Bend, and I'm gonna pull up another map of Florida as a reference here. But I mean, it's kind of there. We've got a long panhandle. You've got this bend here, goes down into this port area, going down the southwest coast of Florida into the Fort Myers area. Everglades down here, the Keys down at the bottom, southeast Florida with the Gold Coast there, and then the Atlantic coast going up to Jacksonville, and then out back to the panhandle. And you kind of see that here. It looks super wide, obviously. It's misshapen. Things may kind of stretch out the closer we get to release date, but you do have a panhandle area right here. You've got the bend over here on the Gulf. It goes into this port kind of area here that looks similar to the Tampa area as we saw there, and then it goes into southwest Florida. This looks kind of like the port area, Port Charlotte area. We'll look at that in depth in a bit. Down into what looks like the Everglades, Keys, and then down into what they call Vice City. So this looks like the Gold Coast. You even got the beach here, so Miami Beach and Barrier Islands, and then it kind of goes up. This poke out right here reminds me of the poke out here for Cape Canaveral. As you see here, the Titusville, Cocoa Beach area, and then it continues up to the Jacksonville area. And you can check this out too. The website is Vimap, so it's vimap.saamexe.com/map. And I'll put that in the description so you can check this out and maybe get some better ideas on where things are right now. But there's a whole key here about what's going on. I'm not really looking at the buildings per se. It's more on the geographic locations of everything, and the roads, as well as the place names. That's really what I'm going to be looking for. But this is a really well put together map by Dupsor and the GTA 6 community. This state is listed as Leonida. I'm going to say that this is probably a mix between Leon County and Florida. I'm pretty sure that's kind of where they got their name from. And then Gloriana, I'm going to assume that's going to be similar to Georgia. As we look here at the panhandle, you have Bohemia. Not exactly sure what that would relate to on the real life map. Only thing I can think of is this just like kind of like northwest Florida, northwest Florida, and all these beaches up here. I'm trying to see if there's anything that's Bohemia similar. Not really in name, but that's all right. So we'll continue to go back here. So let's move a little further south and east. We have this area that's listed as Yorktown. So the only thing that I can think of where this would be similar is to a town called Yankeetown. There it is, Yankeetown. So Yankeetown and Yorktown, those to me seem like they would be similar. So I'd imagine that area it's very rural up here. This is close to Citrus County. I believe this is actually Levy County. Yeah, Levy County, Florida. So extremely rural, but it's on the coast, kind of a fishing town, isolated. And I'm assuming that it's going to have the same vibe in the game here. So Yorktown, I believe that's close to Yankeetown. Remember, all this stuff is not to scale. So the fact that Yankeetown is close to Kelly County, which I think is going to be close to Lee County, which is the corresponding Lee County on the real map, I think that's a pretty good comparison of where it's going to be. But I think that this area here, so Kelly County, Port Gilhorn, I think that these are going to be similar to the Tampa area. Tampa and the Port Charlotte area kind of mixed together. So if you look here on the map, as we go a little further south, you see this inset here, Tampa Bay, kind of goes into Pinellas County and Hillsborough County here. Lee County is actually a little further south where Fort Myers is, but you still have these inlets here. And actually this is the Peace River, I believe. Yeah, this is the inlet to the Peace River. It's right here in the Port Charlotte area. Port Charlotte, Fort Myers, while there are some ritzy areas, it is still kind of like a working class, a lot of working class areas, rural compared to what you'd find on the east coast of Florida, like Stuart, West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale. These areas are quite rural, and there are a lot of planned communities, a lot of mobile homes on the west coast of Florida, so it's a slower pace of life. There's ritzier areas like in Venice and Sarasota and Siesta Key, but a lot of this is still relatively untouched compared to what you'd find on the Atlantic coast. So going back to the GTA map, Port Gilhorn here, I'm gonna assume this is like the Tampa area. I'm trying to see if there's anything that kind of sticks out to me. Bridge support. Route 2, I'd imagine this to be US 41, Tamiami Trail. I don't see an interstate over here. I see I-44. That could be I-75, but I am not entirely sure. Making our way east across, it says Kelly County here. I'm not exactly how accurate that's gonna be. Kelly County could be a reference to Lee County. It could be a reference to Charlotte County. It could be, I'm trying to think if there's anything else it could be. What I will say is that in the middle of the state, you have, it says mounts, but there's a lot of hills here. So Domed Hills, Fairland Forest, and Mount Calaga. I think that this could be a reference to the Lake Wales Ridge. So if you look here along US 27, Highway 27, these areas right here are much hillier than areas you'd find elsewhere in the state. There's a geographic formation that goes along this road that's called the Lake Wales Ridge, and a lot of the hills would be situated here. Not only that, but it's a lot of forested areas through Polk County, which is in the middle of the map, and I think that could be a reference as well. It's very wooded, and just to the east it's going to be a little bit more marshland, but in this area you have a lot of trees, a lot of woods, and then of course the varying elevation like I mentioned before. So I think that could be a reference to the Polk County area, all these hills. Redland Forest, not exactly sure. Mount Calaga, like I said, don't know. Ambrosia County could be a reference to Orange County, Ambrosia being the nectar of the gods, and then Orange County being, like the fruit, orange, something sweet. So that's my guess. I don't see anything else around here that would point to that, like Volusia's, Brevard, Seminole, Polk, or Lake counties. Polk County, nothing referencing Ambrosia. So that's my guess. I would expect maybe a theme park or something in here, but that hasn't been revealed as of this point. Further to the east, you have St. Joseph's, which could be a reference to St. John's. St. John's County is in the northern part of the state along the river. So St. John's County, if you're unaware, that's where St. Augustine is. And St. John's is just south of the Jacksonville area. So St. Joseph, St. John's could be a reference. Just they both start with Saint. That's what I'm thinking. And then Seaview, I mean, that could be any beach town here along the coast, down from Jacksonville down to maybe Daytona Beach. Peanut Island Presidential Bunker, not exactly sure about that one, but there's got to be an island somewhere here along the St. Johns River, maybe. I guess not really. So that just may be something that's unique to the game. Going back over here to Port Gilhorn and the west coast of Florida, I'm trying to see if there's anything that really stands out. Now, if this is Port Gilhorn Airfield, unless this is a a commercial airport, like a passenger airport. This could be a reference to MacDill Air Force Base here on the southern tip of this peninsula here in Tampa, the Tampa area. It could be a reference to that. It could also be like any of these airports here. So there's Sarasota Bradenton Airport, which is down here, Venice Airport, Venice Municipal, Punta Gorda Airport down here in Charlotte County, Page Field, which is closer to downtown Fort Myers. And then there's the Regional Southwest Airport, RSW, which is a busy airport down here in Fort Myers. It also could be a reference to APF, Naples Airport down here in the southwest corner of Florida. Marco Island also has an airport. This first split, this top split that's going by the state prison, this could actually be State Road 80, which goes across the state, but it doesn't go to the lake in the middle. So State Road 80, if you're unfamiliar, goes right here from Fort Myers across Hendry County, through LaBelle, through Clewiston, by where all the sugarcane fields are on the south end of Lake Okeechobee, through Belglade, and then it carries along US 98 into West Palm Beach along Southern Boulevard. I see there's a racetrack here. There's not, oh, I take that back. The Sebring Raceway is here in Sebring, Florida. So it could be a reference to that. Sebring International Raceway is out here by the airport. So if we look at it from an aerial view, okay, Sebring Raceway is out here. So it could be a reference to the Sebring Raceway, which is not too far from Lake Okeechobee. There's Lake Istokpoka right here on the south end of it. What's the name of this lake again? Oh no, it's just Lake Leonida. So I'm almost certain this is going to be a reference to Lake Okeechobee, but there is a lake next to the Sebring International Raceway. And then, like I said, Lake Okeechobee is not too far from that. So I think that that's a reference as well. You also have this split right here, which got to be I-75 that's cutting across this river of grass area. And then you've got another road that goes down here, which I'm going to assume is close to US 41. It's called Route 40. I'm going to assume this is Route US 41 Tamiami Trail. So that's kind of the exterior areas. We've got Leonard County, which I think is supposed to be a mix between, you got Leon and Brevard County, since it's north of Vice-Dale County, which I'm going to say, since it's hyphenated, well, it could be like Miami and Lauderdale. So I think that that's kind of what it is. So that's interesting too. You got Leonard County, which I think Leonard would be like Brevard and Leon. So you've got government up there, and you've got coastal rural beach towns in Brevard County. And then you've got Vice-Dale. So it's like Lauderdale and Vice City, which is like Miami. So Miami and Lauderdale, Miami and Broward counties is where most of the metro is. Mariana County, interestingly enough, there's a town called Mariana in Jackson County that's to the north, super rural. But Mariana County, to me, it just reminds me of, given its location, Monroe County. Down here, Monroe County is actually, it includes the Keys, but it also includes this area here where the Everglades National Park is and Big Cypress Wildlife Management Area. All right, so as you look here, there's Watson Bay. This could be a reference to, I think I saw something a little earlier, Whitewater Bay here. It also could be a reference to this Marco Island area. We don't know how ritzy it's gonna be, but there's Marco Island here. There's Everglades City, which is a small town here on the coast next to Chokoloskee. And here's US 41. So there's that reference. Again, US 41 Route 40. Department of Corrections. This could be here, this Leonida Department of Corrections, but this could be a reference to the prison that's off of Chrome Avenue. So if we go back here, yeah, Everglades Correctional Institute right here. There's one here, and I think I saw one down here. Yeah, Dade Correctional Institute. So there's two jails that are, there's one that's close to Homestead, which is represented here by the town of Hamlet. Hamlet, I'm gonna assume that's Homestead and Florida City. US 41 does not come nearly this far south to Hamlet, or to Homestead, excuse me, but it's relatively close. It's close enough, I would say, right? You also have Grass Rivers, which is just another word for the Everglades. Everglades is known as the River of Grass. I wouldn't be surprised if you have some airboat rides out here, some fishing, some hunting down in the southern tip of Leonida. Working our way back north into Vice-Dale County, you have the Vice City International Airport. The airport makes up a huge part of the map, a massive part. Based off of this map, it's pretty accurate to what the airport actually looks like, just doesn't take up nearly as much space. So if we look here at MIA, you'll see that it has actually a number of these runways, but I mean, you got the horizontal runways, and then you have this diagonal runway, which is represented here. which is pretty cool. Continuing over, let me go back here. So we look at this here, building names, location names written in purple are in-game names where the location is still speculative. Location names written in red are in real life or unknown speculative names. So just keep that example. Everything here is, just keep it as speculative unless it's in black. So outside of the airport, you've got the Metro Mule, which I'm gonna assume is like the Metro Mover or the Metro Rail. We've got I-404, which is the same road that came from the west. So that could be 75, it could be 595, 836, could be a variety of roads. You have this road up at the top, Route 10. That could also be 75 as it goes into I-97, which is pretty much a representation of I-95. So I-97, I-95, those are pretty much the same thing. All right, and now as we get into the area, all right, we get into this area. We have North Vice, which, I mean, given how far it is, I mean, it could be like North Miami. It could be like North Lauderdale. Speculative, of course, right? Montera neighborhood. There is a Montera neighborhood that's in the suburbs of Broward County. You've got Route 1, which is like US Highway 1. And I'm just making my way north to south right now. You've got Route 1, I-97, and Route 10 all coming together. This could be like downtown Miami, like the Midtown area. I don't know exactly what Stockyard represents, but given its location, this area, kind of on the water, right? It's on the water next to the picnic islands, north of Little Haiti, or just to the east of Little Haiti and Rock Ridge and Crosstown, which is a representation of Overtown. I would say that Stockyard is probably going to be like West Little River area. I'm sorry, I said West Little River, Little River. The Little River neighborhood is here. Could be there. It could represent Wynwood because of just the name Stockyard and its location. Let's keep going, right? So we've got Rock Ridge, which is on the north side of the Vice River, and it's serviced by the Metro Mule, but it's on the west side of I-97. So given that, and on the north side of I-404. So given that, I would say that this is close to the I-395 SR 836 I-95 interchange. So that's going to be right around here. It actually kind of looks like it too. If I take the traffic away, you can see like this design. It looks like a mirror image of it, right? It's pretty cool. So based off of that, it would be this Rock Ridge area would be kind of in this area. So Alapata, for the most part, would probably be a good indication of kind of where this would be. Maybe a few areas to the west, like over here by how do you call it, the Grapeland Heights area. Grapeland Heights, kind of unincorporated Miami-Dade, but it's pretty much Alapata. So that's one guess of where all this could be. And then we've got Crosstown, which pretty much Overtown / downtown, which is just to the south and east of that interchange. So south and east of it is going to be Overtown and downtown. And then you got the Bayside Marina area. So Bayside just to the east of Catalan Boulevard and Route 3. So that's a bit different. Instead of Route 1, it's Route 3 now. But it's serviced by the Metro Mule, which makes me think that this is still the downtown area. Continuing south, you've got I-97 that crosses the Vice River going into what we know as the Brickell neighborhood. So that's over here, Brickell. And then I-97, I-95 continues south, and so does US 1. So let's see what that's represented here. We've got I-97, you've got Route 3, and it kind of merges in. Based off of this speculative map, this looks definitely like the roundabout at, what's that, Brickell Bay Drive? Yeah, right here, pretty much the same thing. And then they've got Brickell Key in here as something that's potential as well, Brickell Key. This area. Going over to the beach, or going to the east, I should say, you've got a road that goes down to what's Key Biscayne and Virginia Key, going through the port. That's a little bit of a stretch, as there's no road that goes to all three, but there is a road that goes to Virginia Key and down to Key Biscayne. That's SR 913 off of I-95. The port is actually a little bit further to the north, and it's adjacent to Fisher Island. As you see here, there's a road, I think it's just Port Boulevard, that connects the mainland to the port. And then there's also a tunnel that comes off of A1A, which I think is shown here as 404, if I remember correctly, I-404, yep, that goes to the port. So that's important to remember. You've got all these islands here, Star Island, Ferry Island, Watson Island, that are on the way to Vice Beach or Miami Beach. You've got South Beach in here, Then there's also a Mid and North Beach. There's also the Nautilus neighborhood, Bayshore, all within the city of Miami Beach. But this is Vice Beach, right? So here's all the stuff that's on Vice Beach. There isn't really anything that's labeled here so far. From a street standpoint, you've got the Venetian Islands on here, and looks like there's the Mount Sinai Hospital Complex in here as well. You got the Leaf Links Golf Clubs, which has got to be a reference to either the Miami Beach Golf Club, I don't think so, La Gorce possible, or even Indian Creek Country Club, since it's super isolated. And that's about it. Like I said, as we get closer to the date of the release for Vice City, undoubtedly we're going to get a lot more information about this, and I'll be able to fill in the gaps where necessary. This was kind of all over the place, but I hope that it was, at least it gave some sort of a semblance of the comparisons of the in-game locations, or at least the speculative locations, and where things are going to be, what they compare to in real life. If you like this kind of stuff, let me know. If you didn't, if you thought it could be organized a bit better, also let me know. I'm just putting this out to see if there's even some crossover with GTA 6 and the stuff that I enjoy, which is the real maps and like getting around Miami-Dade County, all those things. So let me know what you thought. Feel free to leave a comment, your thoughts about where certain things are in the game. Thank you so much to the GTA 6 community for putting all this together. Dupsor and the rest of these folks here that put all of this stuff in here, all the suggestions and whatnot. If you want to take a look at the map for yourself, the website is going to be in the description, vimap.saamexe.com/map, and check it out for yourself. Until next time, thanks a lot. Peace and love. Take care.